Tonight, gunfire on Toronto streets claims another life. A man is killed after a drive-by shooting outside a strip plaza near Dufferin and Glencairn. And
crazy to see something like this happen in our neighborhood.
a busy night for police in Brampton as they look into an attempted murder and continue to investigate a police shooting that shut Highway 410 for most of the day. Plus, a Mississauga community still in shock after multiple shootings on Saturday as classmates mourn an innocent bystander caught in the gunplay. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. We're following several developing crime stories tonight. We start with yet another fatal shooting on city streets. This one taking place just after 6:30 tonight near Glencairn and Dufferin. That's where our Kelda Yoon joins us now live with what we know about this latest incident so far. Kelda?
Oh, Mike, yeah, the shooting happened just before 6:40. I was just told by police outside this cafe right behind me, Tony's Espresso. Now, it happened here on Dufferin Street near Glencairn. And I'm told that by those in the area that the victim was in his truck when someone came up to him, shot him, and then fled. I was also told by those who frequent the area that he was a man in his 70s. He was a retired carpenter, and all of them were shocked that something like this could happen to him, that he could have been the target of something like this. Now, he had been rushed to hospital to a trauma center earlier, but just hours ago, we learned that he has since died in hospital. Meanwhile, police, they are still looking for the shooter. They are still looking for the vehicle that he fled in. Here is Detective Andy Singh.
We have a shooter that's described as a male, 6 foot to 6'2", and wearing all black. And this shooter was last seen boarding a white SUV that has been seen going northbound on Dufferin Street.
So what I was told in more detail by Detective Singh was that it's believed that the shooter drove up in the white SUV, got out of the vehicle, went up to the victim, shot him, and then quickly went back into the vehicle, the white SUV, and then fled northbound on Dufferin. As you heard now, I also spoke to Councillor Michael. He is a councillor for this area, and he said that he was very vocal about the need for the government, for all levels of government, to take action to prevent gun violence like this.
Let's get some laws in place that protect the citizens and punish the criminals. But right now, it's a free-for-all. It's out of control, despite the incredible work of our police. So we got to give police some backup, and we got to put out this hell. We've had a summer of hell here.
Police say that this scene will be held overnight. It will be taped off. The forensic team will be inside the cafe, around the building as well, scouring for evidence. They are also, of course, canvassing and asking those who may have been in the area, who may have seen something, or those who have dash cam video as well as surveillance video, to please come forward and hand them to police. I'll send it back to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Kelda. Now to Brampton, where Highway 410 reopened late this evening after being closed for most of the day while investigators looked into an early morning shooting. The SIU is also now involved in the case after police fired at a car that was attempting to flee the scene.
The one person that was transported to trauma center is in serious, non-life-threatening condition. We do have another person that was deceased on the scene when we arrived.
Now, this all started when police officers got word of a shooting on the 410 around 2 o'clock this morning. The SIU says when police were investigating that shooting, they had an interaction with another vehicle in the area. The driver of that car tried to flee. That's when one officer opened fire. Now, police later found the vehicle abandoned near Checkerberry Crescent in Brampton. They were called to that same street again late this afternoon for a woman with life-threatening injuries, but found they were actually dealing with an entirely different crime. Police say a 64-year-old man, a resident on the street, is now in custody for the alleged attempted murder of his wife. She's now in life-threatening condition. The spate of violence has left many in that neighborhood feeling uneasy.
Hearing that after that they're not related, I have no words.
Like, nothing ever happens here. It's crazy to see something like this happen in our neighborhood.
In Brampton, so many incidents been happening lately within last 2 years. You know, so this one was, because this is too close to me.
The victim is now being treated in hospital. Police say the injuries are a result of blunt force trauma. And police are still looking for as many as 7 suspects armed with semi-automatic weapons after Saturday night's multiple shooting in Malton. That killed a 17-year-old bystander and injured several others. You can hear some of that rapid shooting in this video. Police say more than 100 rounds were fired just after 6 o'clock on Saturday near Morningstar in Gorway. Many residents of a nearby apartment are still in shock 2 days later. We spoke with one man who was just steps away from where the shots rang out. He asked not to be identified in fear of his safety.
I see military-style guns. They're holding it like they're in the military. It was just crazy. All you see is gun smoke. All you smell is gun smoke. It was like a fog in the back. I'm afraid I could just be walking, coming home from work, walking at nighttime, 1 o'clock in the morning. Dudes come up to me, shoot me just because they think I'm from that neighborhood. I'm moving right away. As soon as I can, I'm looking for a new place.
A 17-year-old Jonathan Davis died as a result of the gunfire. Police say he was an innocent bystander. Friends call him a quiet teen who was into video games. He was caught up in an ambush-style attack while a group shot a rap video outside his apartment building. Natalie Nanowski visited the neighborhood today and spoke to some of the teen's friends.
He was like another brother to me. He would sleep over in my house a lot, and I talked to him at 3 o'clock that afternoon. He said how he was going to his dad's house and I'll see him the next day.
But the next day, his friends got a call telling them Jonathan Davis had been shot and killed.
When I heard Jonathan, I just broke down.
Davis was in the back courtyard of this Mississauga building, watching the filming of a rap video. That's when police say multiple suspects entered, firing semi-automatic weapons into the crowd. Longtime family friend Selma Alinsi says she jumped in her car after receiving a frantic call from Jonathan's mom.
An officer came to me and said, I said, this is the father. Is he able to go and see? And he said, no, they're working on him. Not even a minute passed by and came back to me, and I saw them cover his body. And they said, unfortunately, he's succumbed to his injuries.
Friends and family described the 17-year-old as quiet, a homebody who wanted to be an electrician.
He's a good kid, very quiet, didn't bother anyone. He was into video games, that's all he did. It's not like if he was out there on the streets or was a person that used to hang out anywhere. No, quiet, very helpful, respectable young man.
It's the gun policy. It's way too easy to get a gun. All these black kids, young black kids, have weapons, and it's just, everyone's just getting killed, especially young black boys. It's so hard to be a black boy and be on the streets past 8, past 9, without fearing for your life.
At Jonathan's school, the flag has been lowered to half staff, and there are grief counselors in place to help students cope with the loss of their friend.
Right now, there is a memorial table set up inside the school for students who can leave their condolences for the family.
A GoFundMe page for Jonathan's family has been launched. Police say this is still very much an active investigation. They are asking anyone with surveillance footage to come forward. Right now, the only description of the suspects that we have is that there were multiple people dressed all in black, wearing balaclavas. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Mississauga.
Now, in the wake of Saturday's shooting, Mississauga's mayor wants her city to get its share of funding to fight guns and gangs.
We will be calling on the provincial government for our share of funding into the Guns and Gangs initiative that other jurisdictions, such as the City of Toronto, has received.
And Mayor Bonnie Crombie was referring to the more than $50 million in funding Ontario is putting towards fighting gun and gang crime. The money is the province's share of more than $200 million the federal government has earmarked for tackling crime. The money is being used to help beef up Crown attorney teams that prosecute gun crimes. Crombie also called for a shuttered community police station in Malton to be reopened. Colette Kennedy's here now with her first look at the forecast. We've got things clearing up overnight.
Yeah, we do, Mike, and we're going to see as they clear up and a new weather pattern kind of sets in, it's going to stick around. It's not going to want to leave. So high pressure is going to be building through this last week of summer that we're looking at, and it's going to begin to feel like it. Never mind today, it was a little gray out there and the temperature's a little cool, but high pressure will be the dominating force in our forecast. Multiple days ahead then where we will see dry conditions. Midweek, maybe a little extra cloud cover. That's about it. And the temperature trend generally mild, meaning most days we will find the readings above seasonal. It's just barely above on Wednesday. Again, I go back to Wednesday, but for the most part, you're going to see when we get a little later in the show to that 5-day forecast. What I want to show you, though, is that clearing trend through the overnight hours. Still a little bit of cloud cover in that deck hanging in for southwestern Ontario, and then that peels away as well. And most of the precipitation that tries to get here has to skirt around towards the north and then the northeast because it's just not going to be able to move in. It's really just going to be blocked by this ridge of high pressure. So it's a great thing for us in terms of enjoyable weather. Tonight, 11 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon, warming up considerably over today. So our high, Mike, is going to be 23.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, there could be a strike by some education workers in Ontario schools right in the middle of the federal election. That threat coming more into focus today after what CUPE calls record voting numbers. 93% of CUPE's 55,000 members voted in favor of job action. The union represents workers including clerical staff, custodians, and educational assistants. The vote now puts them in a legal strike position as of September 30th. That's 2 weeks from today. And Ontario's Education Minister Stephen Lecce released a statement in response to the vote saying, quote, "While I am disappointed in CUPE's decision, our government will not be deterred from our mission to reach a deal that ensures that students remain in class." And Toronto Public Health is calling on the province to put an end to parents letting their kids skip vaccines for non-medical reasons.
A lot of people are at risk if we don't have a herd immunity where everybody's vaccinated. Children are at risk. Pregnant women are at risk. Those who are immunocompromised are at risk.
In a report released today, the city's medical officer of health is recommending Ontario's health minister change the Immunization of School Pupils Act, removing vaccine preventable diseases such as measles. A spokesperson says exemptions for philosophical and religion reasons should be removed. The suggestion comes as vaccination rates plummet around the world in several major outbreaks. At this point, the health ministry says there are no plans to change that law. Now, the GTA's latest shootings have thrust the gun control issue back into the spotlight, especially now that we're in a federal election. Where the leaders stand when it comes to gun crime after the break. The deadly shooting in Malton on Saturday has become an issue on the federal campaign trail. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more now on what the party leaders are offering to address gun crime.
A hail of semi-automatic gunfire kills a teenage innocent bystander and injures 6 others. Another fatal shooting shuts down a major highway, both over the first weekend of the election campaign. Little wonder it's provoking questions for the party leaders.
Far too many communities and families are facing terrible tragedies because of gun violence.
Responding to gun crime has posed a test for Justin Trudeau.
I agree that we can't simply arrest our way out of this problem. People need to be safe. And we need to take the right measures to do that. And
Today, the Liberal leader is defending his government's record on the issue.
We move forward on significant measures to bring in gun control, common sense gun control, over the past 4 years.
But if you want more from Trudeau on gun violence, you'll have to wait till later in the campaign.
We're going to have more to say about how we're going to strengthen gun control in this country.
Stricter gun laws are part of the Green Party platform unveiled today.
There are a lot of very legal, law-abiding gun owners, and we're not out to take their guns, but we have to get them out of our cities.
The Greens say they would redirect resources at the Canada Border Services Agency to tackle weapons smuggling. And they promise a buyback program for handguns and assault weapons.
We clearly don't need semi-automatic weapons with multiple reloads of ammunition. Those are designed to kill people, and we should take them out of our society.
My plan for a safer Canada specifically addresses illegal firearms.
Conservative leader Andrew Scheer has already announced his platform on gun crime.
Greater penalties for people who commit these types of offenses, including gang members. And what we do know about some of these shootings that have gone on over the past few months is that they are related to gang activity.
The roots of violence are very complicated, but it requires having the courage to tackle the root cause. And a lot of that means making sure young people have hope for the future.
Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Another big issue we're hearing about on the campaign trail is affordability. All party leaders weighing in on the frustrations being felt by many that they just can't get ahead. Tonight, we're kicking off a new series, 5 issues in 5 weeks. To start things, Shannon Martin takes a look at affordability.
You deserve a real plan for the future.
Justin Trudeau has spent the last 4 years of your life making life more expensive.
What I'm hearing from people is that they're done with governments that seem to continually prioritize making it easier for the very rich.
We also make life way more affordable for young people by not setting them out in life crushed by student debt.
All major parties all talking about your pocketbook, with promises piling up on the campaign trail.
People often hear that the economy is doing better, that we've overcome the issues of the recession a few years ago. But that's not what we're experiencing in our daily lives. In our daily lives, people's wages have stagnated, while costs of living around housing and even everyday costs are going up.
Voters feeling an overwhelming anxiety, she says, over whether they can afford to live the life they want or even need.
We're unveiling our plan to create hundreds of thousands of new spaces for kids and lower the costs of childcare for parents.
This morning in Waterloo, Justin Trudeau pledging more money for daycare. An Ontario family with 2 kids, he says, would save about $800 a year.
As Prime Minister, I will introduce the Children's Fitness Tax Credit that will allow parents to claim up to $1,000 per child per year for fitness and sports-related expenses.
In Kelowna today, Andrew Scheer talking tax credits. The Conservatives also unveiling what it calls the universal tax cut, aiming to save a 2-income family with average salaries $850 a year.
We'll also address the housing crisis. For social housing, we understand the issue is housing first. For young people trying to buy a house, the issue is homes first. And our program goes into housing affordability.
Elizabeth May with the Greens announced her party's platform in Toronto today, a plan to tackle climate change by transitioning Canada to a green economy.
We are paying some of the highest bills in the world when we talk about cell phone or internet services. We're paying some of the highest prices.
Jagmeet Singh with the NDP hoping to connect with voters by pledging to cap internet and cell phone bills, a move he says that could save families at least $250 a year. We're only several days into the campaign. You know we have several more weeks to go, so those promises will continue to pile up. We'll bring you those announcements, but we're talking about affordability all week. We're hoping our viewers share their stories. You can send us an email at mygtaelection@cbc.ca. Shannon Martin, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Mother Nature is planning a treat this weekend, a weekend warm-up, just as summer comes to a close. We'll have details on your long-range forecast coming up next. The Maple Leafs paid a visit to kids at the Janeway Children's Hospital in Newfoundland today. Kids got to snap selfies and play games with John Tavares, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner and others. The Leafs are hoping their training camp in St. John's. It's also where they're going to be playing their first preseason game tomorrow night against the Ottawa Senators. Colette Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. I'm glad to hear that this final week of summer is going to feel more like summer.
Yeah, it's kind of a little gift we're being given by summertime, Mother Nature, so that we are going to see a really nice week ahead. So today was Monday, and the weather had a bit of a case of the Mondays. So gray skies, the temperature is kind of running on the cool side, about 5 degrees, not quite, but almost 5 degrees below seasonal in terms of our afternoon high. One thing I do want to point out on the almanac today, though, is that our record low, we have a record low now that's dropped into the negatives. So just think about that. The potential is there that we could be seeing temperatures that cool, although it's not easy. It hasn't happened since 1964, and that's quite all right. These are the daytime highs then that we saw, 18 degrees, and that was a round up in terms of the temperature there. And in fact, with some of the isolated showers that kind of pushed through in the afternoon, it dipped in the afternoon back down to about 16 degrees, whereas into southwestern Ontario, Windsor area, mid-20s, no problem there, and a little bit of humidity as well. So some of that cloud cover still in place. Again, a clearing trend. It's a little slower there just to get out of the country, and so in the morning there may be a little extra cloud in the Windsor area, Chatham, Kent as well through there, but elsewhere we'll be set up with sunshine, and that's really what this ridge of high pressure is all about. So it's kind of sinking air. It tends to be very stable, and in this case very strong, and that's why it's going to set up and stick around for a few days. Now, I mentioned on Wednesday, as the systems kind of skirt around us, we may see well to the north some isolated showers, and certainly even in the GTA a little extra cloud cover kind of moving in there, but still it will be a mix of sun and cloud. Overnight tonight, These are the numbers for you in southwestern Ontario, so lows around 14 degrees, slightly different for you there in London. And the highs tomorrow, similar today, maybe just a tiny bit cooler, but with all kinds of sunshine for you to get out and enjoy the nice sleeping conditions tonight with temperatures of 10 to 11 degrees, Toronto at 11, St. Catharines at 11 with clear skies there. And then tomorrow afternoon, a huge departure from today. We really turned things around, and so those temperatures going into the low 20s. Humidity is going to be very comfortable for a few days yet, so just know it won't be till about the end of the week. Then I've put the Humidex back in. It is the last week of summer. Let's talk Humidex still. As the temperatures climb towards the end of the week, that's also when we are going to find the humidity building into the weekend as well. Wednesday with that extra cloud deck, as I mentioned, those isolated shower risk to the north of the GTA quite likely. Mike.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, a woman known for her viral comedy videos online is taken to TV. We'll give you a sneak peek of what Lily Singh is planning for her U.S. late-night talk show debut after the break. Toronto YouTube sensation Lily Singh will make history in just over 2 hours as the first woman of color to host a daily late-night talk show on a major U.S. broadcast network. A Little Late with Lily Singh airs at about 1:30 a.m. on NBC, but audiences saw a sneak peek of the show live streamed on YouTube just about an hour ago.
Come on, I'm more than just a bisexual woman of color, okay? It's a complete coincidence that I chose a network whose logo is also the pride flag.
Now, 30-year-old Singh, also known as Superwoman, rose to fame through her YouTube page, creating funny skits and rap videos. They're also on the show tonight. She announced in March she'd be taking over Carson Daly's late-night slot. Well, less than an hour ago, the jury announced the winners of this year's Polaris Music Prize.
For 13th floor, Havana Mighty!
Toronto rapper Havaya Mighty winning the prize tonight for her critically acclaimed album 13th Floor. The $50,000 Polaris Prize is selected by members of an 11-person jury of journalists, broadcasters, and bloggers. The award is meant to recognize artistic merit, not commercial sales or success on the charts. On Q tomorrow, Tom Power will speak to Havaya Mighty, talking about winning this year's Polaris Prize and what's next. Also on that show, he'll speak with the four guys behind Tall Boys, the new CBC sketch comedy show debuting tomorrow night. That's at 10 a.m. on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.